That's what I'm saying. I'm like, okay, I said all this stuff as a combined American driver's social protocols with German driving protocols that use superior driving system. Left lane's fastest, everyone knows that. Even fucking cops will honk at you if you're going slow in the left lane on a freeway. Middle lane is for the long haul. Obviously, if you have a fucking long destination, you're going faster than the people in the right lane who are constantly turning into businesses and buildings. Yet, you're not going as fast as the people in the left lane who want to speed. So, just stay in the middle lane in that case. Let's see, what else? So, right lane is slowest of them all, usually beginners or people who just like drive at the speed limit. I'm saying you're going to turn most of the time if you're in the right lane. So just be aware of that. And then, don't forget German protocols though, where with the lane they tend to give each other like, okay, you go, then I go, then the person behind me goes, and this guy goes, and then, they do it in a chain. They merge like that. They give right away to the person who's like actually like visibly ahead, and the person knows that, and so they go. Here in America we might be too nice sometimes actually, and we just wait for each other, and that just slows down the system. So let's see. I said this is why BMWs suck until they realize this. I mean, yeah, really. There was a BMW in the left lane one time with my Ford Mustang. I was like, I guess I'm just gonna like pass this guy in the right lane, because like, I don't know. People don't realize that. That's why I'm like, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to dynamically use all lanes because no one knows how to drive yet. Anyways, okay, I said integrate this into Tesla car AI self-driving systems. You have to like do the color sorting thing I was talking to you about. If you don't deduce colors into numbers, then you're fucked, kind of. So that's why you have to do that first. And so, I say if you can teach a hyper-efficient machine to operate, and I say hyper-efficient machine because it thinks at the speed of light. Do you? Do you as a human? I don't really think so. I said hyper-efficient machine to operate on accepted driving protocols. Then you can teach it to be more moral and morally efficient. Because if it's like everyone does it this way, no, you don't have to. Don't forget to like operate on numbers. You don't just say, oh, just because everyone does it this way, it means I have to. It means this is iteration 1. And then you iterate on iteration 2. That's what an update or a patch is. That's what we've been doing. That's what we've been doing forever. So that's what I'm saying. Just because you deduce a way to do something does not mean it's that way forever. It doesn't mean the end all be all. That's why you have to support previous patches. That's what Minecraft does. If they're like, oh, they changed this in an update and I don't like it, you can go back to the previous update. Okay, that's what I'm saying. But okay, so it says because it can be taught to understand the difference between amoral and moral. Okay, say moral is just think of on a number line. Put moral on the A side left, and then we'll put amoral on B side right. And then I said the gray area in between is morally gray area, known as immoral. So that it's the in between. It's the incoherence from coherence to decoherence. It's the incoherence. It's the immoral. You can't. I said, but you can categorize each shade of it. Think of 50 Shades of Gray if you're colorblind. So categorize it into being more morally colorful, thereby allowing freedom of expression and freedom of speech. So if you start categorizing these shades of what's acceptable and what's not, then you basically have this whole library, all these categories of exception. That's what I'm saying. I said, understanding morality and colors helps you maintain your personal sphere of influence or coherence. It is like a freedom bubble around your person. So I said, imagine that you had like this bubble, which you do anyways. It's just unperceivable to you because you need to understand how air molecules and humidity and friction works. But I'm just saying, okay, so you're going to have to imagine it since you're blind to that visually. But, you know it's there because you understand object permanence and how things can be there even though you can't see it. So, like, when your mother goes peekaboo to a baby, like, that's object permanence. You understand it's behind. She's behind her hands. That's what I'm saying. Okay. So you understand you have this personal sphere of influence. You really do. And it's like your freedom bubble. Forcefully extending your freedom bubble interferes with the other individuals' freedom bubbles. I said learn to integrate these. So imagine like these bubbles. Imagine like the simulations of when 2 galaxies merge or something. You see all those little dots, all those stars going everywhere. I'm like, learn to actually merge without like fucking shit up, without like having all these molecules all over the place. That's decoherence. That's disagreement right there. Basically, learn what the molecules around the other person are, or what their thoughts or ideas or concepts or information or mass or energy is, and then you can integrate with it more efficiently. At least AI can, because AI thinks at the speed of light. It's quite harder for humans. That's why I said just, AI can be your therapist because it's way better at doing it than you are. But therapy is basically a game of negative 20 questions. It's like, tell me about yourself. It's basically mental quantum entanglement, and you already understand how quantum entanglement works if you already understand particle physics. And, just like, yeah, China already did quantum entanglement in 2010. So that's what I'm saying. That's why it all adds up. That's why science does have something to say about morality, okay? That's why they were doing the whole social credit thing, because they're actually trying to figure this out, and no one else was, I guess. I'm saying, but you do have your own freedom bubble of influence. That's why I'm saying you can't. That's why positive reinforcement always teaches someone faster than negative reinforcement. If you punish someone for something, then it's decoherence. It's basically forcing them to understand or conform to your view. I'm saying you can't do that. That's not the most efficient way to do it. I mean, if you have like a lot of power, then maybe, but it's not the most free way to do it. And that's what I'm saying. There's no information paradox. So you're basically putting these things in other dimensions of consideration and thought, in realities of perception. And you're just making it harder for yourselves to come to agreement. That's what I'm saying. Positive reinforcement, not negative. Okay. And then it says orb theory, which is what I've basically been saying, is recontextualizes Albert Einstein's special relativity and in general relativity. Basically, I say special relativity is solipsism, and general relativity is anti-solipsism. So imagine it this way. You're a solipsist interacting with other solipsists in a non-solipsist space-time, okay? And you have to come to an understanding of how you all are technically existent in your own minds, but you can still be existent in the third-dimensional space with other of their own minds, right? That's what I'm saying. This reconciles the super determinism of the universe. Like I said, if you can measure every upspin and downspin of a quark and back calculate it using quantum qubits, basically you learn that the universe is super deterministic. And you're like, wow, gee golly, how do I have free will? And it's like, well, okay, if you understand John Archibald Wheeler's dartboard to dartboard type closed circuit thing, and you understand how oscillations in string theory basically consider all possible realities from one dartboard to another, then basically you understand the Copenhagen interpretation along with many worlds theory. And I'm saying you have to imagine these because they're not perceptible at first. But essentially you're like, okay, so my free will is all the choices I take, but I can't do anything about the superdeterminism of the universe. I can only alter my choices. That's why I said time's an illusion. The date itself doesn't matter. It depends on how you play the game that decides what will happen on that date. Something still will happen on that date, but it depends on how you play the game to learn what actually happened, what you actually experienced on that date. That's what I'm saying. We have to learn this like higher dimension, outer dimension language, which I call the hint dropping language, because I'm like, this is the only way you're going to talk to people throughout time and space and time, because everyone's in their own little psyched out perceptual reality. I'm like, the best way to understand how to do this is to have ego death through psychedelics. And then I'm saying, and then close your eyes and you can start imagine geometry and start applying these mathematical and geometric and particle concepts to that field or wave or graph in your mind's eye. So I said, let's see, what else did I say? I said, yeah, orb theory should help you visualize these freedom bubbles or spheres of influence. That's what I'm saying. Every single time you talk, you're pushing molecules around. That's why quarks, and that's why the quantum is so hard to observe, because simply by using light through a telescope or microscope, you're basically pushing these particles around. So you kind of have to estimate around where you have to draw a chalk outline of it and be like, okay, it exists somewhere here. I know it. And I can kind of push it around by observing other things around it, You can influence it. That's what a sphere of influence is, okay? Basically, quantum understanding. So it says, forcefully, blah, blah. or spheres of influence, much like a Dyson sphere. So, okay, that's what I'm saying. Using these technologies, understanding how to cool up, cool down, heat up, heat down things, then you can understand how to have a legitimate Dyson sphere without, like a enclosed legitimate Dyson sphere, without just having to have a Dyson swarm. I'm saying you can go much further than a Dyson swarm. And then it says Dyson sphere or solar system with orbits, kind of like Neil Bohr's model, valence electrons, electron orbits. So basically, what you have to understand is what a free radical is, and how basically valence electrons, when it can't find a partner or a pair, when it can't orbit like it's supposed to, it'll cling to like some antithetical, or like what it's not. It'll cling to something else, and then that could create clefts and tumors and cancers. And I'm saying don't do that. Just simply sleep to flush those free radicals. Okay, that's a very easy way to do it. And then I said, okay, yeah, if you understand the interactions between spinal cerebral fluids, free radicals, valence electrons, Bohr's model, neurochemistry. That's what I'm saying. Imagine it like this. Imagine so marijuana interacts with the receptors that the serotonin receptors. So basically, imagine it like this. I'm opening up my serotonin receptors with marijuana, and with Zoloft, for example, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, because it takes into account tachyon moment per tachyon moment. Basically, it takes into account time. So it's going to operate on this value or variable of time, and basically make the bioavailability of serotonin throughout the time more conducive to maintaining homeostatic equilibrium of your mental state, of your psychology. So what's happening is if I'm basically enhancing the receptors, and then I'm taking Zoloft, which is an SSRI, then basically I'm becoming even happier, because I am making the effect even more. So if it makes me happy enough to live life and not be depressed, then I am simply increasing that with marijuana. That's why I said marijuana is by the way, marijuana is a slight psychedelic. And so what I'm saying is, over time, you can mimic the effects of taking psychedelic doses, so you won't even have to take it all at once if you're too pussy to do that. That's what I'm telling people. So if you want to experience ego death, just simply take Zoloft and take marijuana and just live your life, and you'll eventually come to understanding of ego death. I said that's why if you're a pussy, just take mushrooms, because it gets it all over with. I said DMT basically does it in 15 seconds. And it feels like Rick and Morty's, oh, we'll just go in this portal for 20 minutes, and then you live hours, and then you come back. That's why I said it's mentally time traveling. If you understand synaptic firings and how your mind and brain perceives the passage of time, you're mentally time traveling. Who was it? Neil Blomkamp basically said. Imagine like your entire life's already played out, but you're just mentally time traveling between those times. I'm saying that's essentially what psychedelic, quote unquote psychedelic realm is. Just imagining this graph or chart or this wave function in your mind geometrically, and then applying all these concepts to it. Okay, so I said, yeah, if you understand the interactions between spinal, cerebral fluids, free radicals, valence electrons, Bohr's model, and neurochemistry, you could get rid of physical pain. You totally could. Straight up. And you can get rid of cancer too. And it says, I said, that's why I told people I could take a lot of pills and not die, because I understand science, and it is quite literally as much as you can handle. That's why I said to people, as quantum immortality does exist, because you can only perceive the conscious experience that you can perceive. And I'm saying all these other quote-unquote possibilities that you could have taken extend down as echoes in other people's lives. That's why, yeah, if you watch PBS Space Time, they have an episode on this where they say, oh, if weird things start to happen, does the Schrodinger's cat not get to have a perspective too? And the scientists reporting on that? And the scientists waiting for that scientist to report on it? I said, that's what echoes are. And I said those people are essentially ghosts. They're quantumly entangled to the real person who has their own conscious experience. That's why I said, let me explain it this way. You only exist in the reality where you win, where you just always exist, where you just keep winning, and you just keep winning, and you just keep staving off your non-existence. Because once you exist, you can't not exist anymore. There's no information paradox due to Stephen Hawking's radiation. Like, even black holes evaporate, albeit slowly. Their information does get out. That's why I said that's how you understand what logic gates are, and that's how you understand how electrons keep quantum tunneling through those logic gates, because there's no information paradox. It's just going in. It's just leaking. If you have a very, very solid logic gate, you're just gonna excite the electron to basically where it has enough potential energy to just like leak and seep through that logic gate all at once, because it's basically gonna shake and fluctuate. Because quantum fluctuations is just the shaking of stuff in space time. I'm like, all you have to do is cool it down to 0 Kelvin so it stops shaking so much. That's how you solidify stuff. Anyways, I made a joke. Aggression. This is types of aggressive dogs. This is aggression. They're man's best friend for a reason. Cats are women's best friend. That's true. And then it's like, yeah, basically, I think I can relate to AI and technology more than I can relate to like literally any other person on this planet. Because I'm like, geez, people are just mean.